All right, you two. I thought today we would maybe read a story. Mike and the Motorcycle. I'll try to read a chapter to you every day, so you can watch it. It's something that Annika likes when she was younger. I'll just try to read a chapter every day and put it out there for you. I like to maybe get a nice cup of coffee or something and a piece of toast while I'm reading it, so I can snuggle up. I'm gonna have peanut butter toast today. I hope you're doing very good. I miss you a lot. I just made a piece of toast. I like to put the peanut butter on there when the toast is nice and warm. Me and my brothers and sisters used to do that when we were young. Sometimes we'd put it back in the toaster and warm it up a little bit. And I'm gonna fix a nice cozy cup of coffee. Oops, sorry about that. That's probably loud. I'm gonna get my favorite coffee cup. Fix a nice cup of coffee here so we can snuggle up. We'll be going up to Annika's room to read the story. Like I said, we're just gonna do a chapter a day. Maybe do something nice to get us through this time. I hope you enjoy it. Kind of like Mr. Rogers. I just put a little Starbucks in my cup and cinnamon dolce latte. Probably heat it up just for a few seconds here. Get myself a napkin too. Take it all upstairs. Grab a pair of glasses so I can read. And we'll go on upstairs. Let me grab my coffee. See if I can carry all this stuff upstairs in one trip. I haven't had peanut butter in a while. All right. Alexa, what's the date today?
Today is Sunday, March 22nd.
Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 12:24 p.m.
Alexa, what's the weather?
Right now in Annika Grove Heights, it's 38 degrees Fahrenheit with cloudy skies. Today's forecast has lots of clouds with a high of 43 degrees and a low of 36 degrees.
Oh, it's going to get a little bit warmer. Whoopsie. Another pair of glasses sitting there that we could use just in case. While we're on our way up there, I thought maybe we could look at some of Annika's art here. Things that he left around for me. So we'll go upstairs and snuggle up in Annika's room and read a little chapter of Mike and the Motorcycle. If you want to read a different story, we can. Later today, there we go. Later today, I'm gonna be showing you some stuff up with the tomatoes and stuff that we planted. I'll show you where I'm sitting here. I got the blanket on the sofa so I can cuddle up, and there's all your toys over there. And yeah, I'm not sure how I'm gonna set it up yet. I wasn't too prepared, but I thought it would be fun to read a book together. And we got company here. Whenever he smells food. Peanut butter. Good. Let me grab something off the floor. I can prop the phone up against it so you can see me reading. Oh. We'll switch it up every time. But let me adjust the light. Might be a little bit better. So let's get on to reading the book. The Mouse and the Motorcycle. Still has Annika's little bookmark in there. The Mouse and the Motorcycle, Beverly Cleary. Ralph is going to have the ride of his life. There's a little motorcycle there. Illustrated by Lois Darling. Lewis Darling. Let me put the glasses on so I can see a little bit better with that. My teacher read this to me when I was young. Beverly Cleary, The Mouse and the Motorcycle. Chapter 1, The New Guest. I'll do my best here. There's a little picture of looks like the mouse is in his hole looking out at maybe somebody outside in the hotel room. And here's what else we got going on here. We're all snuggled up. Chapter 1, The New Guests. Keith, the boy in the rumpled shirts and shirt, did not know he was being watched as he entered room 215 of the Mountain View Inn. Neither did his mother and father, who both looked hot and tired. They had come from Ohio and for 5 days had driven across plains and deserts and over mountains to the old hotel in the California foothills 25 miles from Highway 40. The fourth person entering room 215 may have known he was going to be watched, but he did not care. He was Matt, 60 if he was a day, who at the moment was the bellboy. Matt also replaced worn-out light bulbs, renewed washer and leaky faucets, carried out trays for people who telephoned room service to order food sent to their rooms, and sometimes prevented children from hitting one another with croquet mallets on the lawn behind the hotel. Maybe I can read without my glasses. No. Now Matt's right shoulder sagged with the weight of one of the bags he was carrying. "Here you are, Mr. Gridley, rooms 215 and 216, he said, setting the smaller of the bags on a luggage rack at the foot of the double bed before he opened a door in the next room. "I expect you and Mrs. Gridley will want room 16. It is a corner room with twin beds and a private bath." He carried the heavy bag into the next room where he could be heard opening windows. Outside, a chipmunk chattered in a pine tree and a chickadee whistled, "Phoebe bee." The boy's mother looked critically around room 215 and whispered, "I think we should drive back to the main highway. There must be a motel with a vacancy sign someplace." We didn't look long enough. "Not another mile," answered the father. "I'm not driving another mile on a California on a hot holiday weekend." Not driving another mile. Yeah. "Did you see the way that truck almost forced us off the road?" On a California highway, that's what it said. "Dad, did you see those two fellows on motorcycles?" The boy began and stopped, realizing he shouldn't interrupt an argument. "But this place is so old," protested the boy's mother, "and we have only 3 weeks for our whole trip." We had planned to spend the 4th of July weekend in San Francisco, and we wanted to show Keith as much of the United States as we could. San Francisco will have to wait, and this is part of the United States. Besides, this used to be a very fashionable hotel, said Mr. Gridley. People came from miles around. 50 years ago, said Mrs. Gridley, and they came by horse and buggy. The bellboy returned to room 215. The dining room opens at 6:30, sir. There is ping pong in the game room, TV in the lobby, and croquet on the back lawn. I'm sure you will be very comfortable. Matt, who had seen guests come and go for many years, knew there were two kids, those who thought the hotel was a dreadful old barn of a place, and those who thought it was charming and quaint, so quiet and restful. Of course we will be comfortable, said Mr. Gridley, dropping some coins into Matt's hand for carrying the bags. But this big old hotel is positively spooky. Miss Gridley made one last protest. It's probably full of mice. Matt opened the window wide. Mice? Oh no, ma'am. The management wouldn't stand for mice. I wouldn't mind a few mice, the boy said, as he looked around the room at the high ceiling, the knotty pine walls, the carpet so threadbare that of many of its roses had almost entirely faded. The one chair with the anti-massacre macassar on its back, the wash bin and the towel racks in the corner of the room. I like it here, he announced. A whole room to myself. Usually, I just get a cot in the corner of the motel room. His mother smiled, relenting. Then she turned to Matt. I'm sorry. It's just that it was so hot crossing Nevada, and we are not used to the mountain driving. Back on the highway, the traffic was bumper to bumper. I'm sure we shall be very comfortable. After Matt had gone, closing the door behind him, Mr. Gridley said, I need a rest before dinner. 400 miles of driving it, and that mountain traffic. It was too much. And if we were going to stay for a weekend, I had better unpack, said Mrs. Gridley. At least I'll have a chance to do some drip drying. Alone in 215, and unaware that he was being watched, the boy began to explore. Looks like he found a little hole in the baseboard. He got down on his hands and knees and looked under the bed. He leaned out to the open window as far as he could and greedily inhaled deep breaths of pine-scented air. He turned the hot and cold water on and off in the wash basin and slipped one of the small bars of paper-wrapped soap in his pocket. Under the window, he discovered the knot hole in the pine wall down by the floor and, squatting, poked his finger in the hole. When he felt nothing inside, he lost interest. There's a picture again. And here we got our little situation over here. He likes listening to books too. Basil. All snuggled in. All cuddly. Next, Keith opened a suitcase and took out an apple and several cars. A sedan, a sports car, and an ambulance about 6 inches long, and a red motorcycle half the length of the cars, which he dropped on the striped bedspread before he bit into the apple. He ate the apple noisily in big chomping bites, and then laid the core down on the bedside table between the lamp and the telephone. Keith began to play, running his cars up and down the bedspread, pretending that the stripes on the spread were highways, and making noises with his mouth. Vroom, vroom for the sports car, and wee, wee for the ambulance, and for the motorcycle, up and down the stripes. Once Keith stopped suddenly and looked quickly around the room, as if he expected to see something or someone. But when he saw nothing unusual, he returned to his cars. Vroom, vroom, bang, crash. The sports car hit the sedan and rolled over off the highway. The motorcycle came roaring to the scene of the crash. Keith, his mother called from the next room. Time to get washed for dinner. Okay. Keith parked his cars in a straight line on the bedside table beside the telephone, where they looked like a row of cars, only much, much smaller. The first thing Mrs. Gridley noticed when she and Mr. Gridley came into the room was the apple core on the table. She dropped it with a thunk into the metal wastebasket beside the table, and she gave several quick little sniffs in the air and said, looking perplexed, "I don't care what the bellboy said. I'm sure this hotel has mice." "I hope so," muttered Keith. And look at there, there's a little picture of the mouse. All right. Well, that's the end of chapter 1, and that'll probably do it for today. Next is chapter 2, the motorcycle. So we'll do that maybe tomorrow night or someday. I hope you guys are doing good. I love you very much. And Basil, what are you doing? Everything is fine here. I'm doing good. I've been in the house for a long time. I haven't been out or seen anybody for a week now, and I'm healthy. I hope you guys are doing good. If you want to comment on the YouTube video and suggest a different book, you can comment on there. I love you. Have a good day.